suffocating loss, 11-10 to the Denver Broncos in a Sunday night showdown. We had to bring it back. I've got my brother Wayne Breezie over here. We're going to be talking to you about the game, talking to you about what this means for the 49ers going forward, and looking forward to week 4. Stay tuned.
Let's go get him. Let's go get him today, man. Let's go. Hey, dominate on 3. 1, 2, 3, dominate.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another stream. Obviously, you know the animosity is going to be up because I've got my brother Wayne Breezie here, who is there live at the Denver Bronco game. Wayne, how you doing today, my man?
Man, you know I'm doing good. That's how I'm doing. I've recouped, and I'm moving on. I'm moving forward. That's what I meant. I'm moving forward.
It sounds like a healing process after like a big breakup.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. I'm moving forward. But no, we got 49er football to talk about. The 49ers lost to the Denver Broncos, like I said, a score of 11-10. But everybody knows what everybody's minds are on. Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan, this 49ers defense, if we're talking positively. There's a lot to talk about. First, got to give a shout out to Kali. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's appreciate you, obviously, always tuning into the streams. But Wayne, let's go ahead, get right into it. The recap. What are your initial kind of takeaways from this performance by the 49ers, both positive and negative?
I'll start with the negatives, so that way when we get to the positive stuff, at least we'll have some, some bright side to the situation, right? So negatively, It was. I think I texted my wife at some point in the game. She texted me. She says, "Jimmy G sucks." And I said, "I know. I'm cold and I'm bored." Because there was just nothing. There was nothing. And I like a good defense again. You remember the Super Bowl, the Patriots and the Rams.
The Rams, yeah.
I knew you knew what I was talking about, bro. I mean, it was one of those games, but the difference was the 49ers have tons of weapons that can create things, whereas the Patriots didn't have anything in that Super Bowl. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, yo, we can't drive the ball on this Denver Broncos. And not to say that their defense was like bottom of the totem pole. It could have been the Chicago Bears again, and we probably would have lost this game in this fashion due to the way the offense played. So the offense didn't do anything to like wake me up. Right. So I had to stay on my phone and listen to all the Jimmy G slander and Kyle Shanahan slander and all that stuff. So that was exciting. But the game overall just was not a good game. And obviously they fell short in Denver and the Mile High. They fell short. But I can tell you some bright side. This defense ain't nothing to mess with. And so I don't care what high scoring offense comes and plays this defense. This defense has an answer. They're going to solve that problem. So it was really cool to see that the defense predominantly played damn near 55 minutes of football before they decided to say, I don't know, I'm tired, I'm whatever. Like they played a long game. And even after the drive, Rohan, it was like they recouped, they got some energon cubes, and they stopped Denver again.
They
get the ball back twice.
They stopped him with 24 seconds that left on the game clock. It was 2:06. The 49ers got the ball back at 1:51. It was a great, great stop at the end. And it's funny, right? Because we talk about it, and I did see a column by a certain columnist. I didn't read the entire thing. I just saw the clip where it said the defense was the one that really struggled for the 49ers. Or not really struggled, but the defense couldn't hold up for the entire time. And so in a way, it spun it on the defense.
What a title, right? What a way to grab your attention, right?
Exactly. Like so the defense, like that was just a really damn good drive by a good offense. A 12-play, 80-yard, 6-minute drive. After the amount of time that defense was on the field this entire game, consistently getting stops because the 49ers offense was getting off the field immediately. When you look at the 49ers drives in the second half, I'll tell you the time of possession on each of them. First one, 1 minute, 6 seconds. Second one, 38 seconds. Third one, 2 minutes 8 seconds. Fourth one, 1 minute 19 seconds. Fifth one, 2 minutes 14 seconds. Sixth one, 2 minutes 4 seconds. And the seventh one, 37 seconds. None of the 49ers drives in the second half when the game was going on, when your defense is as tired as possible, went for over 3 minutes. And this is a team that we talked about dominating time of possession last year. That was the reason that we won, and the 49ers couldn't get it done on offense. So the Denver Broncos compile a 12-play, 80-yard, 6-minute drive. That's obviously going to wear down your defense, end it with the touchdown. And really, the Denver Broncos only scored once against this team. Really, it was that one touchdown. Obviously, you have the field goal as well. The Denver Broncos did miss one field goal in this game, but it was, I believe, a 53 or 55 yarder. You had the field goal on the decline penalty, but it's a tough showing when your defense performs as admirably as it does against a top-rated offense, which is now ranked amongst the highest in the AFC West, and your offense lets them down.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that if I wouldn't have seen the game and I saw that headline, I immediately would have clicked on it. You know what I'm saying? Because that headline would have. I wanted to know what did the defense do. Honestly, penalty wise, the defense played really good. I think the majority of the penalties were on the offense. All right, there might have been an offsides Nick Bosa call.
That's
Like
the one. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the one.
like you know what I'm saying. But like the defense played rather well. And like I said, and you heard Fred Warner say it, he was like, man, he was disappointed because they didn't play 60 minutes of quality football. Now I don't know if he meant the whole team, but I think he was really talking about his defense. I really felt like he felt if we didn't miss the opportunities, remember they punched out a fumble. Samuel Womack punched out a fumble. They had an opportunity. Russell Wilson falls on the ball, gets the ball back. I felt like Charvarius Ward or Mooney Ward, he had really good position. If he could have just grasped that joint by the fingertips, he would have had an interception. Tip pass, good PBU on Ward. It would have been a hell of a play if he would have made the interception. That could have turned the game around. So the 49ers on defense did miss out on some opportunities, but that's not why they lost. That's not why they lost. Yeah.
Real quick, I see all the comments. Thank you guys all for tuning
Love
in.
y'all, man. Yeah.
Kevin's got a question for you, Wayne. Are you guys pulling up SoFi, October 30th, Levi South? Wayne, are you going to that game?
That's Halloween, man. I don't know if it's safe for me to travel on Halloween. I barely could get home on regular nights. You know what I'm saying? On regular days of the year, Halloween might be a scary night for me. So I think I might just stay at home and do what I do from here, especially on that night. If you guys don't know what's going on, anytime I travel, something's wrong with my airplane. I'm telling you right now, I'm
this
scared.
Weekend, we was texting, and he says, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Oh, you had a safe travel, right? This must have been a piece of cake." He's like, "Yeah, it was a 3-4 hour delay on the way back."
I'm almost starting to get used to it though, because it's the second time. Chicago, delayed. Coming back here from Denver, delayed. I can probably go to Hartford and I'm 30 minutes away. If I took a flight, it'll be delayed. Like I'm telling you right now, something about me traveling. I think I'm gonna stay home on this one.
Yeah. If you guys don't know, I probably can't come out for that one. I'll be home for Thanksgiving. So I'm gonna I'll try and be at the Saints game. That's the game that I'm looking at, but I don't think I'm gonna be there. Hopefully, though, I can get to week 18 if that game matters.
Will you be home? Because you should be done with school in December, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So will you be done at the beginning of December?
No, end of
Oh,
December.
okay. So the end of December. Okay, because I was gonna say I'll be in Cali. I'll be in the Bay for the Miami game.
Oh, I know a lot of people going to that Miami game. That game's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I just want to see if Kyle Shanahan loses to another rookie head coach this year.
To Mike McDaniel.
Yes, I'm gonna lose my cool.
Oh man. But yeah, we talked about, the quick recap. We got to get to the hot topic. He just mentioned Kyle Shanahan. It's the best part for it. There's been a debate going on about Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo. Who's really at blame in this game? I want to ask you, what are your thoughts? Has Kyle Shanahan held Jimmy Garoppolo back as a quarterback? And what blame, in a way, do you place on the duo for this loss?
This is a tough question. It's a good question. It's a tough question. Because I do think Kyle Shanahan holds players back. I do think he doesn't cater his game plan around their strengths. So yes, I think he does hold players back. Do I think he held Jimmy back? Then yeah, he's one of those players. I feel like Jimmy's is a certain type of quarterback, and if you can get him into a rhythm early where he's comfortable, then I think you can open up your playbook to get him to do some of those cognitive things that you need him to do, making sure that the offensive. Remember, Kyle said, "I need all 11 pieces to be working in sync in order for his plays to work." Basically, I'm paraphrasing it, but if that's what it takes to
The
get a
truth,
play,
though.
it is the truth. It's a machine, but that's tough because he's not factoring in the other variables. The other 11, there's 11 other variables that can make your play design suspect. So if I'm Kyle Shanahan, you gotta rely on the players to be able to make a play. The one thing that made Deebo Samuel so great, and I know he's not a quarterback, but if you throw him the ball 9 times out of 10, he's gonna find a way to make a play. If you George Kittle the ball, get him in space, he's gonna find a way to play that not go down. And so with Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel like he has a unique skill set. We just aren't seeing it anymore because the defenses are in his face 24/7. And I don't care if the offensive line was great. Kyle's plays aren't dialed up for the offensive line to block so long. They just
Yeah,
need.
and
Yeah, go ahead.
no, what I was going to say is, to this specific question, I don't think this is true. I don't think Kyle Shanahan's held Jimmy Garoppolo back. I think that Jimmy Garoppolo has held this offense back. And when I'm talking about this, I'm talking specifically about his comments last week. Last week he said, "I want to exhibit more freedom." In a way, he was talking about he wants to gunsling a little more, be a bit of a better gunslinger. I thought Kyle Shanahan gave him ample opportunities in this drive. You look from the initial drive, one of the first plays of the game, his first read on the play was to Brandon Ayuk, running about a 20-yard so hitch, and it was in between that second and third level of the defense. It wasn't an out route. It was a hitch just straight near the hash. But instead, when you talk about it, those are the throws that Jimmy Garoppolo chooses not to take. And so that's where you question, is it Jimmy Garoppolo who's electing not to bypass reads in which a receiver is open in the area in which he has said he wants to target, or is it Kyle Shanahan? To me, in this game, I thought this game was more indicative on Jimmy Garoppolo. I thought Jimmy Garoppolo consistently missed reads. Either he missed them, he read the play, but he bypassed the read, or he had an inability to make the read. To me, I thought this game here, Kyle Shanahan schemed up a fairly well game. Now, I'm going to criticize Kyle Shanahan after I say this blurb because there were a couple of plays in which I actually did not agree where Kyle Shanahan should have done what he did. And there's also, outside of this, you remember, I think Jesse said this week. When you look at Kyle Shanahan, you can't look at him as just a play caller. That's an offensive coordinator. You've got to look at him as a head coach as well. And when you talk about the entirety of this situation, the handling of this situation, Kyle Shanahan has not done well, right? If there's truly a divide between the mindset of the quarterback and the mindset of the head coach, that's an issue in a locker room that is trying to attempt for a Super Bowl. If Jimmy Garoppolo truly said, "Your plays suck," it seemed like draw plays suck or screen plays. I don't know exactly what he said, but if there is that divide, this is an issue that I place blame on Kyle Shanahan because he's the one who handled it as he did. He's the one who didn't hand Jimmy Garoppolo a playbook this entire offseason. He's the one who then, after all of that, after the entire divide that happened this entire offseason where it was awkward, brought back Jimmy Garoppolo and entertained this possibility for 2022. Now, from a business perspective, I thought it was a solid move, given that it extended the trade deadline window. But from a perspective of the locker room and our perspective of handling his players, that's where you can question Kyle Shanahan. So has he held Jimmy Garoppolo back? No. But is he devoid of criticism? I don't think so either.
Yeah, but when you say he hasn't held him back, I still don't think he utilizes to Jimmy's strengths. Jimmy's not a gunslinger. He's never been a gunslinger.
Right. And I'm
Right.
not saying I'm not saying that he is, but to me,
I'm not
go ahead.
saying that
Go ahead.
he didn't dial up plays, Jimmy, that everything you said about Jimmy was correct, especially for this game. But that doesn't mean he's still not holding them back. I think Kyle Shanahan holds all his players back. I think he has a specific way he wants everything to flow. I think that's holding them back. I think if you let those kids go out there and play freaking football and have them stop thinking so much and just let them react, I guarantee you they'll play so much better and you'll get a way better outcome. And then you can start adding in these little intricacies to your game plan. I'm not saying that the system is super complex, but it's simply complicated, right? It's simple, but it's complicated. And if Kyle Shanahan stops, looks at himself in the mirror for 1 second and say, hey man, what can I do to be better for my teammates? Not this play calling bullcrap, not being a head coach. What can I do better for those guys? I guarantee you it's probably not even football related. It's probably just being a better person for them to connect to. Sometimes these guys just need somebody they can connect to. Big brother, father figure, whatever it is you name it, it could be something simply as that. The disconnect between Jimmy and Kyle is mega huge, and you knew there was going to be a disconnect. All that bullshit Jimmy was talking about, oh yeah, man, can't wait to be back. Oh yeah, bullshit. Jimmy don't want to be here. I don't care what people says. He does not want to be here because he knows he's not wanted here. He's needed here, and there's a big difference. And the only reason why he's here is because John Lynch couldn't do anything with him. Couldn't trade him, couldn't give him away. The only thing they could have did was cut him, and financially, that would have cost them more money than them restructuring his deal. So the only reason why Jimmy's here is because he's needed, basically, and it's a discount. Jimmy could have chose not to be here, but he did. So I do like what you said about the whole situation when it came to this game, but I really think Kyle does hold his players back. It might not look like it's a lot, but Jimmy has to be held accountable for his bad play, period. Because if he can't see a read that's wide open, or if he's deliberately not shooting the ball to the wide open guy, that's on Jimmy, and that's a cognitive thing, and that's nothing Kyle Shanahan can do when you got Deebo Samuel wide open, Brandon Ayuk wide open, running back underneath wide open, George Kittle wide open. Jimmy's just not hitting those. For one of the first plays of the game, I think he got his pass on the first drive. Pass was batted down, and if it didn't get batted down,
an interception.
It would have been a freaking interception. That's because Jimmy's staring down his targets, right? He's just saying, Kittle, you're getting the ball, Kittle. I don't care what happens. I'm throwing you the ball. Jimmy's not getting better. So is Kyle the blame for this team and its turmoil? No. Kyle's blamed to me for these relationships, and he needs to figure out how to repair this relationship with Jimmy Garoppolo so that they could get on the same page, so that the team could get on the same page, so that they can find ways to get through this adversity, because that's all this is. It's adversity. It's unawkward, but it's adversity.
Yeah, and I mean the one objection that I have to the holding him back about Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan, the one thing I will say is when you talk about like when you talk about Kyle Shanahan, right? When does Jimmy Garoppolo kind of operate the best? We've seen it now in the last 2 weeks, and we've seen it last year. It's in the early part of the game. It's when the scripted part of the offense is working. And to me, that's when Kyle Shanahan's really being really utilizing it's not his entire playbook, but that's when I think Kyle Shanahan has the biggest say. He's the one kind of saying exactly what to do and how to work it. And we saw it in this one drive. The 49ers had that offensive touchdown drive this week. Last week, the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo's first drive, a drive that was going to be designed for Trey Lance, and it was a pretty much a set amount of plays where Kyle Shanahan was saying, let's do this, and it worked. That's where I'm thinking, I don't necessarily place as much blame, because I think Kyle Shanahan in these scripted drives, that's where Jimmy Garoppolo flourishes. It's when it becomes off schedule, when that's in the second half of games, when you're going away from the scripted plays to the non-scripted plays, to the off schedule plays, that's where the offense seems to falter a little more. And there are a couple of things that I say with Kyle Shanahan. I want him to run the ball a little more on second and long. Why? Because he's been efficient when doing it in the past, but that also means you can't do it every single time. With Jimmy Garoppolo, it limits your offense more. You can't necessarily run on every first down because there's not a threat running out quarterback out of the backfield, which then, in a way, to open up your offense, you've got to be able to at least show that you're willing to pass on first down, which I thought he was a little more willing in this game than he has been in games past, being a little less predictable. Last year, you could claim that Kyle Shanahan was too predictable, running on entirely every first down in some games because he wanted to start up the run game, because he didn't trust his quarterback. And that's where I'll place my last blame on Kyle Shanahan in this entire Jimmy Garoppolo situation. I don't know, Kyle Shanahan, I think, is a good offensive coordinator, a good head coach in general, and I think his system works. I think that When players execute his system, it works. But for players to execute his system, he needs to be able to trust those players. And even if he's only trusting 10, you made the point earlier, this offense only works when everybody executes it. For example, earlier in this week on some of the running plays, you need 5 to 6 players on that offensive line, including tight ends and fullbacks, to be able to execute their block. If only one of those blocks goes off, then guess what? That's a loss. So
100%.
overall, Kyle Shanahan needs to be able to trust all 11 players to run to be able to freely run that offense that he desires. And when he's not trusting his quarterback, that's an issue. And if you're sticking with the same quarterback for 5 years, one that you've kind of shown at times that you haven't looked to trust, that's where I place blame on Kyle Shanahan. Because if you wanted a
100%.
better solution, you should have gotten a better solution. And I understand they went and traded 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance, but then again, you benched Trey Lance in year 1. Do I object to that situation? Not necessarily. I thought it's fine for him to have a redshirt year, but you could have gotten the solution earlier. There was Tom Brady on the line. Obviously, in the 2017 draft, there were players. And even then, you could have waited and got your number one option in Kirk Cousins in free agency in 2018 if you were so dead on trying to get a quarterback that you fully trust. That's been the issue to me for Kyle Shanahan over the last 5 years. That's where that trust issue comes along. So while I believe he's he's at least put players in a position to succeed, overall, when you look at the landscape of it, there are certainly criticisms that you can place on Kyle Shanahan.
100%. This is me not trying to blame Kyle. Gets blamed. It's not for the football stuff. It's not for the play calling. I think his plays are designed and they just need to be executed properly. But it's the other things. It's the intangibles. It's the things that he could have did to make this team better so that they're not even in this situation. Why are we still searching for running backs? Why our offensive line is struggling? Why are we doing? That's because the coach just doesn't seem to want to upgrade. And don't give me the money crap, because then you need to figure out a way to get your money guys to work this money so you can go get these other players. That's all front office. That's GM, Parag, Kyle, all that. That's all that. But with that being said, Kyle chose for it to be like that. He's got to take this roster and make it work. And that's his job. And that's why he gets blamed, because it ain't working. Not right now.
Yeah, I agree. And look, we real quick, we got we got a super chat here from Still
Hey,
Looking. Got to give a shout out here. Super chat in the building. This is a little good session right here. There's definitely some tension in the locker room. You guys have a lot of good points about Kyle holding players back. And like I said, that's an example, right? The non-trusting part necessarily with Garoppolo at times, that's an issue. And while I don't think that he hasn't trusted Trey Lance, I think that point's been a little overstated. I don't necessarily think that's true. I just think that he's utilizing Trey Lance's skill set while incorporating the passing attack later in the weeks or later in the game. And we haven't really seen a significant amount of time where Trey Lance is operating under normal conditions. He's been
good
injured
point.
in 2
Good
of the
point.
games. The Seattle game and the Arizona game, he's been injured with a finger injury. It would be malpractice to throw him 40 times in that game, and he threw 29 in Arizona. Then you look at the Houston game, that was really the one game where you can have a true example, right? Where Trey Lance was close to fully healthy. He ran only 8 times. Of those, 6 were designed runs. He ran 3 times on the first 2 drives, didn't run a single time after that again until the second quarter. Because Kyle Shanahan, what he does is set up the run, or utilize the run to set up the pass. And then once the run's working, try and set up the pass. And even after that game, Kyle Shanahan said himself, he is still learning how to call plays for Trey Lance. There's going to be the learning process, growing pains, not only for the quarterback, but also the head coach, because it's a new system. I thought that the Garoppolo 4-throw drive that resulted in a touchdown, that would have been exactly how he utilized Trey Lance on that next drive. And so to me, I think that, the running game, while he's run technically 13 times on average in his starts, that would have definitely simmered. And I think Trey Lance is finally that first quarterback that he seems like he's going to trust in this 49ers offense. I don't think he's fully trusted Garoppolo, but some tendencies have pointed to me. First of all, you look back in the Arizona game, he went on it how many times on 4th down? It was like 5 or 6 times on 4th down, where he hasn't necessarily done that ever as Kyle Shanahan. In fact, there was a graphic today that came out in 2022 when going for it. How many times have the 49ers, it was like, how many times the 49ers gone for it when it favors them to go for it rather than punt or something? 49ers were dead last. It's because of a lack of trust in your offensive system or offensive quarterback to move the ball. There's truth to it. Jimmy Garoppolo clearly underperformed last week. But again, there's two sides to that equation as well.
I agree. And as far as when it comes to trust, I mean, the one position you need to put your trust into is the quarterback. And if you can't trust the quarterback, then I just really don't expect much else to work. Like if the quarterback that you have running your stuff, if you don't put your faith and trust in that guy to go out there, then I don't know how this is going to work. Because if Jimmy, Kyle has to figure out what he can trust Jimmy with. We've seen him take the ball out of Jimmy's hands. We've seen him run the ball down teams' throats, and teams couldn't stop it, so he stuck with the run. There was no more Jimmy. Was that embarrassing to Jimmy? Probably. But at the end of the day, the 49ers were winning. I think Kyle needs to get his team and his unit back to winning. Get back into that mindset. Whatever it takes, shout out Aaron, whatever it takes, get back to winning because that's what we need. That's what the team needs. That's what this fan base needs. And for Kyle Shanahan's job to stay alive, he's going to need it too. Whether it's with Trey, Brock, doesn't matter. He needs to figure out how to get his team back to this winning franchise, whatever it takes.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that, the whole point is to win. And we'll get to that in a minute about the overreactions or whether the 49ers are still flying in 2022. First, we got a question here from Kali. What are you seeing from Ayuk? I was told today he doesn't create separation or make contested catches.
He gets open. I was watching the movie. He can get open. He's getting
Yeah.
open. And you're gonna I guarantee you're gonna start seeing his frustration. You thought Danny Gray was mad. I don't want to know what Brandon Ayuk mad is gonna look like.
Now, this game, I think people were talking more so in this game. This game's an anomaly. Why? Because Ayuk was going up against Patrick Surtain, one of the better corners in the NFL.
Facts.
He's a good corner, and he was locking him down for certain portions of the game. But does that mean Ayuk can't make contested catches? I don't necessarily think so. When you look at plays that Jimmy Garoppolo made in direction of Ayuk, there were several balls that were off target. First of all, there was that first throw to Ayuk where Ayuk was running somewhat of a comeback route. Surtain had inside leverage. What happens when you have inside leverage? You got to throw the ball to the outside shoulder so that Ayuk's got a chance to make the ball, make a play. Where does Jimmy Garoppolo throw that ball? First of all, he eyes Ayuk straight down, throws it straight to the inside shoulder, and that's gone. That goes up in the air. Later on, Garoppolo misses Ayuk wide on an in-breaking route on a close play again. And then earlier, like I talked about, on one of the very first drives of the game, Brandon Ayuk is the first route. He's running about a 15-yard, 20-yard hitch route, settles between the second and third level of the defense, and Garoppolo, looking straight at him as the first option, doesn't fire the ball. Instead, he gets off that read and just throws a check down because he himself has admitted in the past he prefers to play conservatively. He understands the value of checkdowns, and he prefers that route rather than trying to go for an explosive play. So when you talk about the gunslinging, that's not necessarily an option because that's not what Jimmy Garoppolo is about. And so, yeah, there are several plays. Ayuk is getting open. And even when he's not, Ayuk has the ability to make contested catches. There's a reason that he was the leading receiver yesterday. And I want to ask you this real quick, Wayne, on the Ayuk topic.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Ayuk's going to take a step back this year with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm? Or do you think the 49ers now understand that he's a significant part and are going to place him in positions that Jimmy Garoppolo is comfortable in?
Yeah, this is not going to be the season that Ayuk breaks out, and it's because mainly he's not going to be able to get some of those down the field throws. You were talking about that outside throw to the outside, to the right outside out of bounds line, and he had his guy beat. Whoever was on him was beat. It's just that the throw was poor, and it ended up he had to dive for it. It was short, and he had to, it was an incomplete pass. So for Brandon Ayuk. For wide receivers like Brandon Ayuk, this might be it unless you rework him into your system, and then you got to say, "Dang, I got to get him running some crossing routes." I think that would be the best way to utilize him, right? Get him run the underneath crossing route, like the intermediate one, and it's hopefully and then you hope your quarterback, whether he's bootlegging left or right, he's seeing that crossing route and he can hit him on the run, and that's what you're hoping for. He did have that first play, that first catch play. I thought was pretty good. But man, this is going to be a rough year for Brandon Ayuk unless him and Jimmy can get locked. But again, you don't want Jimmy just throwing a ball to Brandon Ayuk. Like you want some you want him to be able to spread that ball around. Jimmy's locking in on one guy and he's not getting rid of that ball. So it's gonna be tough for Brandon, in my opinion. Debo's probably gonna be the guy again. I thought Debo was the leading wide receiver in this game. I could be wrong, but I thought he had
Debo
more.
was. Yeah.
Okay.
Ayuk was last week. Debo was this week.
Got you. So yeah, like, and Debo mainly is because and you can hit him for the short joints and he could pick up some yak yards. Ayuk's got to get his yak cap on, and it's gonna be one of those seasons, which fits Jimmy. So let's just keep it a buck. That's who Jimmy is. Jimmy's the short guy thrower. I got to get this ball out to you quick, and you guys are gonna have to make a play. That's Jimmy Garoppolo's career. That's why he has wins in this system, and it's not just because of Jimmy. It's because of the pieces that surround him. So we can get it done. Maybe they just got to get into a rhythm, like Jimmy says. I don't know what it is, but maybe that's what it is. It's weird though, because they were seeing rhythm in the night on against Seattle, and then they seem rhythm less in Denver.
Yeah. One thing that I've seen when I've watched film, Kyle Shanahan isn't utilizing Brandon Ayuk as he utilized him last year. Last year, Ayuk was utilized as a deep threat. And was that the wrong way to utilize him? No, because Ayuk consistently got open on those out routes in between the linebackers and the safeties. If you have Trey Lance throwing that ball, Ayuk is going to be able to get a significant amount more volume last year. This year, though, Ayuk's been utilized in a significant amount of roles. He's utilized on these in-breaking routes. He's utilized yesterday. He ran one of the best routes that I've seen him run. He was out of the slot and he ran a double move. He faked like he was running an out and double back towards the inside of the field. He was going to be wide open, was the number one route on the play. But what happens? Jimmy Garoppolo staring down, or I think he was the number two, but Jimmy Garoppolo was staring him down. And then right as Ayuk is making the double move, a move in the offense, Jimmy Garoppolo looks off of Brandon Ayuk and throws to the check down, which resulted in an incomplete pass. That play right there, Garoppolo's got to stay on that read because Ayuk is getting open. The 49ers are now utilizing Ayuk a ton more over the middle of the field for Jimmy Garoppolo's sake, for Trey Lance's sake, to create open plays because Ayuk has an ability to get open. That's never been his issue because he's a guy who can create separation. And unfortunately, right, at least in week 3, the quarterback was not able to utilize him to the capacity that he should have been. However, Ayuk, a positive side, Ayuk got 8 targets this last game. Only 3 catches for 39 yards, but 8 targets, the same amount as Deebo Samuel. That volume should remain the same, and Kyle Shanahan should continue to place him in favorable positions for Jimmy Garoppolo, where hopefully the quarterback will be able to execute in further weeks.
Yeah, good question, Kyle. And it's crazy because it's like, man, they got the weapons. They just got to get the quarterback to get it to them. You know, they got pieces. The 49ers are very talented on offense. Very talented.
Moving on to something of a similar topic. We talked about Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo, but overall, what do the 49ers kind of need to improve on as they head into back home to face the Los Angeles Rams?
I mean, again, they need to clean up the silly penalties. Like those false starts. Spencer Burford, man, what drive killers those can be.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You're trying to get your quarterback and your offense into a rhythm, and you go a little bit early. So they gotta figure out how to improve and get better at that. And that's one thing. Other than that, they just got to figure out how to gel. And I think once the 49ers, I'm telling you, once they gel, once they get their rhythm going, it's going to be a tough team to stop, even with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm. Listen, Jimmy's not a bad quarterback. He's not a terrible quarterback. He just plays poorly a lot, right? He's consistent. He has consistent poor games, but he's also going to give you some good games. Like, that's why I wrote that article. Jimmy's going to be Jimmy. Dude, he can throw 4 touchdowns and probably throw 4 interceptions and you lose. But he also threw for 4 touchdowns. Like, it's weird. And so that's the Jimmy. That's that gunslinger type of a person that you have mentality wise. He feels like he can do this, he can do that. The offense is just gonna have to find out how to get on the same page, and that comes from Kyle to Jimmy and Jimmy to his offense. Guys, I need us all on the same page. I know Jimmy doesn't wear the C on his chest anymore, but he needs to go in there and talk like a captain and get these guys on the same page. And if he can do that, he'll get a lot more respect, especially from Breezie.
Yeah. And I mean, when you talk about it, I think the penalties are huge. I know it's only one game, but when you look at this one game sample this in week 3, there was penalties on like third and medium, on second and medium, that resulted in either holding penalties or false start penalties that make it second and third and long. You already have a quarterback where it's tougher to make these throws, right, on second and third and long. Why? Because defenses understand it's a passing situation rather than a run pass option situation. And so that run doesn't phase them anymore on second and third, or especially on third and long. And so what are they going to do? They're going to dial pressure up. They're going to try and get to the quarterback as quick as possible to eliminate that quick game, and they're going to dare Jimmy Garoppolo to throw the football. There was a ton of one-on-one coverage and with single high looks where there was a robber safety implemented closer to the middle of the field to try and take away certain routes from Jimmy Garoppolo. It obviously worked on first of all, on the deflection that likely would result in an interception. The pick six was there, and also the actual interception that happened. The Denver Broncos had a very good defensive game plan to combat Jimmy Garoppolo in this game. And so, yeah, it is that penalties, so that you need to take advantage of every opportunity you get, because of how stagnant this offense can be at times, because of the lack of execution that this offense has at times. And so those penalties were killers yesterday or on Sunday.
And to add to that, Rohan, I think that's probably one of my main concerns, because the question is, how many other defenses are going to be better or as good as Denver that we play? And so when you get to that, you're like, oh shoot, like, they have 5-man fronts up front, like right in the line, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. Then there was times they would stack 8 in the box. Then there was times they had 6 men on the line, like in a row, like 6 men on 5 guys. It was ridiculous. And so you're saying to yourself, all right, like Jimmy, maybe he just hasn't seen it in a while. He's gonna have to figure it out. And that's what football is all about. And I remember Jimmy being able to get the ball out quick with 8 men in the box. Kyle, you're gonna have to figure out those plays. You're gonna have to figure out how to create that extension to your run game, aka the screen game. And I don't want the screens where Jimmy got to take the ball and throw it 15, 20 yards across the field ladder. No, get the quick screen right in front. Jimmy's a quick guy. Get the ball out quick. If Jimmy can do that, then you let your playmakers make plays. Let your playmakers make plays. I think Tico, you know what? I think Tico Raw is gonna go this week. I hate to say it. I think he's gonna be the guy's gonna be called up. They probably might release Marlon Mack. I think they like Tevin
Really?
Coleman. I think that's why they brought him in. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tico isn't starting this game, or at least spelling Jeff Wilson Jr., because clearly he doesn't trust Jeff Wilson Jr. And this comes back to Kyle Shanahan and who he trusts, right? And so you brought Tico back. Who is Kyle going to trust, Jeff Wilson or Tico? And when I say he doesn't trust Jeff, dude, Jeff had a 37-yard run, another big 20-plus yard run. Dude ended the night with 75 yards off of 12 carries, and you couldn't get this man at least 20 carries in this game?
Yeah. And so this is also a place of criticism that I have for Kyle Shanahan. I talked about it earlier. Again, I'm a Kyle Shanahan supporter. I think he did a great job in this game. Not a great job, but a good job. But the issue was some of those second and longs, right? Jeff Wilson Jr. only maybe gets 1 to 2 yards on some of those early drives. Run the damn ball again. Get you third and medium, get you third and short, where you can at least disguise certain situations instead of throwing the football. Then I'm going to point to one specific play. It was the interception play. The 49ers had a good amount of time on the clock remaining. This was, I believe, a drive that started with 4 or 5 minutes. 49ers threw the ball 4 straight times. It was first down. There was no need to throw the ball. The Denver Broncos understood that the 49ers were looking to throw the football. So what do? They played more conservatively. You only rush 4 as opposed to the 5 that they were rushing a good amount in this game. You only rush 4. You drop back 7. You also only had 1 linebacker on the field, meaning you were in your nickel package. And so they were anticipating another throw. Run the damn football up the gut. And also, that one linebacker that I was talking about, he actually ended up blitzing on the play, meaning that middle of the field, if you're able to create those holes, is open. Run the damn football on that play. Jimmy Garoppolo still messed up. He shouldn't have thrown that interception. There was still an open Brandon Ayuk on that play. So, you could see it both ways. But I would have liked them to run the football a little more on that drive rather than start with 4 straight passes and then throw for a 5th time on that drive.
Yeah. It was I don't know if it was bad play calling. I don't know if I want to call that bad play calling, but definitely questionable.
Questionable.
Why would you go with these plays when you clearly, like, the 49ers had to lead the majority of the game. So why aren't you trying to run it to run out some of this clock, and B, see if you can get another spark? Like, you got 2 running backs, and for Jordan Mason to come in and rush for, what did he get, that 7-yard rush from after that 1st and long because they had the penalty on the
Yeah.
first play,
Oh,
and he
that
comes
was
in
a
and
killer
cuts it in
drive.
half, and then you go right back to, then the fumble. Like, I
Like, the
don't
issue was, like, it seemed like the 49ers were gonna run it again.
yeah,
You would have
yeah,
gotten more Jordan Mason action, and then the freaking fumble happened.
then the fumble
Man.
happened, and so these are things you can't make up, and that's why you can't blame Kyle, because that play call design, that drive at the 50 was about to work, and then
Yeah.
here comes Jake Brendel and Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle. The fault was Brendel. That he went on the wrong snap.
Yeah.
He went, don't know how the center goes wrong, but he was wrong. And next thing you know, boom! Now that should have been a pass. It should have been a flag. Should have been a false start on the center. That's what it should have been. Of course, they don't call it, right? And next thing you know, it's a fumble.
Yeah. And this kinda leads me back, right, to my initial question. Where do the 49ers need to improve? You gotta capitalize on opportunities. How
Mm,
many times have we talked about in these first 3 weeks where the
mm,
49ers have not capitalized on opportunities? And this isn't even a problem that happened this year, right? You look back to last year, talk about the big games. Let's just look at the Tennessee game. How many times did the 49ers have an opportunity to score in that first half? How many times did Jimmy Garoppolo not come up? You talk about drives. The 49ers were at midfield for a good amount of this. Like, they got to midfield a good amount of times, right? And we obviously can talk about the 10 to 12 mistakes that Jimmy Garoppolo made in this game that could have potentially put 21 points on the board. But again, it's a fumble like this, a miscue from Jake Brendel at the 50-yard line where the 49ers are in prime field position coming off the half. It's a drive like that really kills you. Then you talk about the safety obviously happened. The interception drive, the 49ers were moving. They were near the midfield again, and then they threw an interception on 1st and 10 near midfield where they should have ran the damn ball. Like, it's just the amount of opportunities that they have, and they consistently fail. It's like you got to be able to capitalize on opportunities because when the playoffs come, when real time comes,
mm-hmm.
these these opportunities matter. You got to be able to take everything you get because you're facing off against better teams.
That's it. That's it. You don't want to miss out on these opportunities. But here's the thing, right? They're getting the opportunities. That means something's working. They're not capitalizing on the opportunities. So you got to ask yourself, come mid-season, they'll be in mid-season form. Things should start to go in the 49ers' favor. So that would be my bright side, right? Like, all right, man, they're here. Defense is playing well. And I believe the defense, minus injuries, can sustain a season worth of football playing the way that they're playing. I really do. And don't forget, guys, they get reinforcements back. So I really think that the defense can withstand a lot of the stuff that's going on. But the question is, there can the tables turn once they get into gel mode? Like, once they're like gelled, and now that Jimmy's the guy, and the offensive line is gonna always be suspect. It's gonna be really hard to gel offensively, right? But if Jimmy can get into this rhythm that he keeps quoting he needs to get into with the players, come mid-season, I would say come week 8, week 9, like after our bye, like we are going to we should be in mid-season form and gelling. Now, if we're having these same issues after week 8, we might want to hit the panic button on the season. Like, it might be panic time, and we might have to just look being in the middle of the pack for next year. And then we're only picking a 2nd-round pick anyway, so this doesn't make sense to tank, right? And it just might be it is what it is. We're just gonna have to accept that it is what it is.
Yeah, we do. And this is, I think, a good transition point to talking about, is it overreaction time in San Francisco? Because the 49ers are 1-2 right now. You face off against your division rival. It's funny. If the 49ers win, they're going to be first place in the division next week. If the
Correct.
49ers lose, they're going to be put in a similar position that they were in early last year. So do you think it's overreaction time in San Francisco, or do you think that the 49ers are really going to get it together with this elite level defense and weapons?
I don't think it's overreaction time. And I think why our fan base is feeling the way that they're feeling is because their expectations are let down tremendously. But I don't think it's overreaction time. There's nothing to overreact. It's just that we start the seasons off slow. We're kind of on cruise control. It's kind of one of like you ever like the NBA season, right? It's a little longer. So you kind of just, you play your stuff. You don't even implement your offenses and your defensive sets yet. You're just trying to get your guys back to basketball shape.
Right.
Guys, the 49ers are probably just getting their guys back into football shape, and come after week 4, week 5, that second, not trimester, but that second wave of the
Yeah.
4-week span, right? I like to break it down into fours because there's 17 games. That second wave is probably going to be when the 49ers really start their gelling mode. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm trying to read what Rick says. Breezy, do you blame the faithful fans like
Let me
you?
pull it up.
It says, do you blame the faithful fans?
Fans like you and across the country.
Do I blame the faithful?
I'd assume he's asking, do you blame fans for being toxic or something like that? Do you blame the fans for overreacting? Maybe I'm not sure.
No, so no. I think overreacting is good. It's you want to release this stuff, right? You don't want to hold into it. And guys, again, the 49ers, the faithful, our expectations is we need a Super Bowl. All right. You done teased us with it. We done been there. We've been there twice over this in this decade. Like we need Super Bowls. Like we need a Super Bowl. I guarantee the 49ers win a Super Bowl, they won't remember any of the trauma, the turmoil, the whatever.
Yeah.
None of this shit would matter. None of it would matter. It would all be erased, and they would accept Trey Lance's son, daughter, everybody. Everybody would be fine if the 49ers could find a way to win. I think that's what it is. Everybody is tired. So we're overreacting because we don't understand why it's the same shit, different day. That's what it is. That's what it is. Sorry for cursing, but that's what it is. Same shit, different day. And so we're saying, damn, we got all these weapons on offense. We talked about in the offseason, we got weapons of mass destruction. You and I, we talk about this stuff. We talk about all the upside, the bright sides, all this stuff. And then when they come out on the field, we're let the fuck down.
Mm-hmm.
Should we not overreact because we're let down? Our feelings are hurt. Yes, you should overreact.
I think it's fine for a fan base. You're traveling. 49er fans travel like the best out of any team, any organization, right? You have people spending their money on flight tickets, on season tickets to go to games to cheer on the team, and they see their team lose in that fashion. I think it's fair to overreact. It's a fan's right in a way, right? It's not like they're imposing anything on the team. It's not anything like that. Kyle Shanahan has said, we don't listen to the noise at all. It's fine for a fan to overreact in general, but also just understand the large picture as well.
That's it. There's a bigger picture, and there's time, right? So as long as God is letting us breathe, right, there's gonna be time. Things can be fixed, okay, right? Things can be fixed. And again, I really think, I don't like to lose. I don't like it when my team loses. I don't like it when I feel like I'm failing you guys. But unfortunately, it happens. And I used to teach my students one thing. I said, you know what? It's okay to fail. You know why? Because you can learn from it, grow, become stronger, become wiser. Use these failures as those learning moments. And I think that's what the 49ers are doing. So as mad as Samson Ebukam was at the end of this game, looked like he was about to knock somebody out.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. What?
Yeah,
It's funny when Javon Kinlaw is the guy that has to hold you back.
I'm cracking up now. I'm cracking up on the inside. Now I'm cracking up. Yeah, that's funny. But I'm saying that to say, even after he calmed down, even after he let his emotions out, even after he overreacted, he posted a thing and said, we're gonna be just okay. Like we're gonna be all right. Like, you know what I'm saying? So things are going to be all right. And now, after we've overreacted, that's why I think the Nothing But Niners overreaction show is good. That's why I like the Nitty Gritty's overreaction show. And if Rohan, if you don't have an overreaction show, jump on my overreaction show. Rogers overreact. That's why those shows are needed, because we need to vent. Whether it's good energy, whether it's bad energy, it just needs to get out. And so I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest parts of overreaction might come soon if the 49ers lose yet another game to the Los
You think
Angeles
it's going to
Rams
be an
this weekend.
overreaction, Rohan? It's going to be
I don't think
World
it's going
War
to be overreaction, but
Three,
I think
bro.
it's going to be a reaction.
No. It's going to
It's
be
done.
World War
Getting.
Three, bro. We lose to the Rams. First of all, losing to Denver, you wanted to beat Russell Wilson.
Then
You
again,
wanted
though, a good amount of people did say the 49ers were going to lose that game, but a lot of people predicted the 49ers would beat the
We're
Rams
gonna
at
win
home.
that game. Hey, you know what's funny? They're favored to win this game, 2.5 points.
Yeah. Oh, I actually found that very interesting. I did not think the 49ers are going to be favored going into this game. Like, I personally think the 49ers, at least, like, I still do. I think the 49ers should win the division,
Okay.
but I didn't think that they were going to be favored in this game coming off this type of loss.
Here's the thing. When I look at our team, we're not bad. We just catch bad breaks.
Yeah.
And then when I
That's
look
true.
at the other teams in the division, I think Seattle is just bad, but they catch good breaks. I think Arizona is mid, but they catch good breaks. And I
Mhm.
don't even think that the Los Angeles Rams are as good as what they were last year. I think they've taken a small step back. So, in my opinion, they're beatable, but they're still the division champs and they're still the team to beat. So, the 49ers just got to make sure that they iron out these wrinkles, man, and kinks and get out there and play 49er brass football. That's it. That's
Yeah.
all they got to do. Trust in one another, trust in the head coach, and that needs to be reciprocated, Kyle Shanahan. If your players are trusting you, you need to trust them as well. They do
Yeah.
that, man. I really don't see them losing much more.
I agree. I agree. I think that, the 49ers have a formula. You saw it last year when they went on an amazing run at the end of the year, right? Went 7-2 to finish the year. They have a formula that can sustain wins. And you can make the argument that this defense, the proponent for that formula, is better this year. So I think that the 49ers, you have a better part of a formula here. I think the offense just needs to start clicking, and maybe that comes with better practice with Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe what he's saying is truly true, right? He needs a little more of a reacclimation period, but we've seen it before. Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't necessarily had great initial performances, but he's bounced back. And a stat that I saw this week, Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, after a loss, have only, I forget the record, but they've only lost once back to back. So that's a
Uh,
pretty good sign.
they haven't lost to the Rams in the regular season. That's an even better sign.
Yeah, they're 6-0. Jimmy Garoppolo is 6-1 against the Los Angeles Rams in his career.
So I'm going with those odds, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Now I know some of the variables are different, but guess what, Rohan? They're different on both sides. We might be without Trent Williams, but they're without Von Miller.
Yeah. And have you seen their offensive line? It's not that good. Like,
That's a big difference. See what I'm saying? Once Whitworth retired, they're a little different. And that's what I'm saying.
right.
Like, for the 49ers, all these games are winnable. But if they stop beating themselves, they'll come out on top.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing. Can they limit the kind of the mental mistakes? Can they capitalize on opportunities? Because the opportunities are there. Kyle Shanahan's going to scheme himself a good game. Can they capitalize on the opportunities? Can there be trust? Can there be cohesion amongst the entire unit? If so, then the 49ers are looking pretty solid.
There it is.
Before we wrap up today's show, got to give a shout out to Tanya, one of the best followers in general, saying hi, Rohan and
Tanya,
Breezy. We
I'm
always
gonna be in
appreciate you
Miami.
here.
Let's get together. We're gonna have a blast. It's gonna be Christmas time. We're gonna be out there having fun, whipping Mike McDaniel all up and down that field.
Yeah. So Tanya, you better link up with Wayne when he comes along. That's going to be a fun time. But appreciate you and appreciate everybody that tuned in. This was a great show here. Obviously, talking about this overreaction kind of part for the 49ers. Lost in week 3. Now at 1-2. But the 49ers have a huge bounce back opportunity. If they win next week, they can be at the top of the division. Many expected this initial part of the season to go a different way. Obviously, the Bears loss was certainly an interesting one, but 49ers have a chance to kind of bounce back early on. go to 2-2 and get at the top of the division.
I like that. Hey guys, Rohan and I, this is going to be probably a weekly thing. So we're looking to do this Tuesdays. Hope this time is good for everybody. And let us know what we can do to improve the show. We want to make sure we bring
Always.
you guys quality
Always.
content. So feel free to send any one of us a DM on Twitter or email or whatever. I love the 49ers Red Zone podcast. I love what we're doing here. Rohan is a great person. His show is great. His stories are great. His articles are great. Everything about him is great. This kid is doing great things. I don't like Wisconsin, so that's not great. Go Blue. But other than that, Rohan, you are the man. Make sure you guys subscribe to his channel. Let's go ahead and build my brother up. Let's do it. Let's do it, Faithful. We're a community. We're just one community. We could be divided into different neighborhoods, but we're still the same community, and we need to support one another.
Hey, always appreciate the show. One of the best people on the platform, both on YouTube and on Twitter. Always uplifting. Got himself his little personality as well. You already know that Wayne's going to be Wayne. But thank you guys so much. If you guys want to subscribe to my channel, link is in the description. So be sure to check that out on both of our channels. Thank you, though, Wayne, for obviously hopping on. Thank you, chat. This was a great show. Tuesdays with Wayne. That's the norm now. So be sure to hop on and be sure to enjoy yourself some 49er content and maybe some big-time overreactions if the 49ers lose in week 4.
Oh, it's going to be crazy.
But appreciate everybody, and we'll see you guys next week.